The comments and views expressed on The Moore Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The Moore Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching The Moore Show and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. Now for the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. Now on today's show, I'm joined with my guest, David Loomis. Now David lives in the beautiful White Mountains of northeast Arizona. It's in this setting that he found himself surrounded by something else, something that brought him great power, comfort and understanding. Now that something else was the supernatural, and for David, discovering its presence in his life was monumental. Now as soon as he opened himself up to the possibilities of the universe, he was filled with bits and pieces of knowledge. The unexplainable was explained to him by benevolent teachers from another place and time, and he was then guided by them and by his dreams to a better understanding of the world, giving him insights into the past, present and possible future. Now Alien Tears delivers David's message to the world and tells his true, unusual, inspiring personal story. David Loomis, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here.
And David, it's a complete pleasure to have you on today. And I was just saying off air there that I wish we'd had more time maybe together just to go over your story, but that's okay. We're gonna get there. It sounds a very fascinating story. Now, the way that I came across David was through a MUFON contact, and now you're a participant of MUFON, a researcher for MUFON. How would you term it?
I'm an investigator for MUFON for the last 8 years. Last 2 years, I've been very active investigating.
Okay, so you're an investigator for MUFON. And, for us Brits and other people in Europe, just tell us very briefly about MUFON.
Well, it's for the scientific study of UFOs for the benefit of humanity. We are the world's largest and oldest group of investigators and scientists trying to figure out this phenomenon. We're in many countries also, and we're in every state of the United States.
Okay. And how did you get involved in MUFON?
Well, I've had experiences all my life here and there, and that have stuck in my mind for many times, many years, and I started wanting more answers to my questions, and I saw an advertisement down in Phoenix, Arizona, on TV, and I said, that's what I need to get into. I need to check that out. So I got into it and did the test. It's a 100-word test. It's a very hard test. You got to get 80% to pass to be an investigator. And myself, I was able to go to their boot camp, which is a 3-day boot camp, hands-on training. So that's how I got involved.
Excellent. Okay. And what does MUFON stand for as well?
Mutual UFO Network.
Okay, so thank you for that. Now, this interview is going to be based on your book, Alien Tears, which is a descriptive title, and we'll get into that in just a moment. Why write this book? What was the catalyst for writing this book?
Well, I had a very vivid dream that I've had many vivid dreams in my lifetime that are on the edge of, did it really happen or it didn't happen? And I truly believe it happened, but I can still only call it dreams. But there is some things in my book that are definite, absolute happened. But a lot of them are dreams. And recently, a beautiful woman came to me. Just for some reason, I needed to be outside, and I was out there, and here she was, and she was telling me that I need to write my lifetime stories. And the next day, man, I got up and said, I'm going to start right now. It was such an incredible thing that happened to me. I'm going to start writing my stories down. That's the reason why I started writing my book.
Okay. Okay, you mentioned there that you met some sort of is it some sort of deity, who was this woman? What?
Well, I would classify it kind of as angelic. I mean, it was an experience that was so beyond the experience I've had in my life, and it just touched me. And I never did touch her in any way. I mean, it was there she was. It was just a shocking, sudden thing.
Absolutely, I can imagine. And was this a sort of telepathic connection or verbal or?
No, it was telepathic. There was no. I was trying to speak, and then I realized I didn't have to speak. And she was in my head, and it was so pleasant. It was unbelievably pleasant the whole time. Okay. I was not scared one bit.
And was there any sort of missing time in that event?
No.
No.
Missing time.
And there was no one else that witnessed that event? This was just yourself?
Just myself, yes.
Okay.
I have no history of mental problems of any kind.
No, don't worry. Many people have accused me of the same, but it's all good. You're in a safe space here.
Okay.
Interesting is all I'm going to say in that for that even that memory. There was something else I was going to say that just before you said that, and I can't remember what it was now. It's okay; it'll come back to me. Well, I will say that this is one of a number of events that have happened in your life with sequences like this. So in the book, you go back to your first memory of 1960. And I don't know right now if I'm doing it justice by going back to that first memory or not. I almost want to stick with that woman that you had that vision of and probe into that. But maybe we should just go to the 1960 first memory.
Well, my first memory of an incident was when I was probably about 5 years old. I was in that age group somewhere there, and it all started in a little town called Denair, California, at my home. And I heard my parents and my uncle and my older brother, they were going to go fishing. And I needed to go. I mean, I know I'm only 5 years old, but I got to go. For some reason, I had such a desire to go. It was driving me mad. I convinced my mom, my dad said, let me go, please let me go with the older guys and stuff. And my mom, her word was, no, you'll fall in the lake and drown. Well, there's more to that part right there. It was interesting. But I got my way. I got to go. And we're at a lake called Pinecrest. It's just outside of Yosemite National Park, up in the Pines. Beautiful area. And it was my first time there. And everybody starts moving down the lake and going this way, going that way, and I'm just wandering off my own way. My dad let me wander off. But I remember looking down at the water, and I see my reflection. And I'm just looking at my own reflection, and there's, for some reason, I needed to be here. The next thing I know, I was in the water. And I wasn't just in the water. I was upside down, going down to the bottom of the lake. And I could see the light above me getting dimmer and dimmer as I'm going deeper and deeper. And breathing is not an issue for some reason. And I'm getting deeper and deeper. And then the next thing I realize, I'm in a bubble. And I'm in a bubble, and I'm at the bottom of this lake. And while I'm down there, there is beings around me. The main beings were just as human as us. They look just as human as us, but they seem extra healthy, just incredibly healthy-looking human beings, women and men. And there was something else in the room, and I can't quite explain it anymore, of what else was in the room. I'm assuming it was another being. So I've written that in my book, that it was another being, because there's a strong feeling in me that it was a different being from another planet or another place somewhere. And I'm down there. And next thing I know, I'm back up on the rock I started at. And I'm wet, and I just got there. And as I'm standing there, my dad comes running up, hysterical, said, "Where have you been? We've been looking for you for at least an hour." And I'm trying to tell my dad, I said, Dad, I was at the bottom of the lake. But you got to remember, I'm a 5-year-old boy trying to convince my dad that I was at the bottom of the lake. And he kind of somewhat of a laugh and a worried look came across him. And he, looking for if I bumped my head, he was worried about me. I might have fell real bad. It's obvious I was wet. And he just kind of shook his head at me like in wonder, like, you come with me. You don't leave me anymore. And I said, okay, Dad. And we're walking off. I noticed across the lake, there was a man across the lake. You could see him. He wasn't that far away. You could tell it looked like a human to me. But there was something about that man I made a connection with. He was part of what just happened to me somehow. And I felt this calm, like everything's fine. And I look back at all this like I was told something that I can use in my future. And like I will be visited again many times in my future, and just to absorb what they're giving me, and it will be in use someday. That's pretty much the first story.
Okay. So, is it difficult to, recollect that memory mentally?
It was for a long time. It suddenly came back to me as probably a young adult, I'd say, in my teens. It started really bothering me and messing with my mind, like, why do I keep thinking about this? Why do I keep thinking about it? And I said, man, there's more going on here. And then, of course, the other things that happened in my lifetime, I could go like, okay, it's happening again.
Right.
This thing's happening again to me. Because all through my other stories, there's a point like, oh, it's about to happen again.
Okay. And when you went into this space, I mean, that we've had many reports of underwater UFOs. This sounds different. The way you got there, where you were, you had no sense of whether you was underwater or somewhere else. You'd gone physically missing for an hour or maybe more. But you submerged. There you are on this rock. That's your next memory. Have you ever had hypnosis?
No, I've been told that I should have some done, and I have not done it. It's on my to-do list.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not your normal person that's experiencing things. There's something much higher up going on. What I'm experiencing is just so much more incredible. It's unimaginable almost. Even in my mind still, it's like, how could this be happening? It's unimaginable to me. But it's not the common, the little guy came in nighttime and scared me, and everybody's always scared. I have no scared. I'm not scared. There was only one thing that happened to me, and it's a true story that happened. It wasn't a dream of any kind. And there was one moment in there I was actually scared. And that's a whole other story.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. So many more questions yet, but I just want to get into the story just to get a feel of it first. So you talk about an incident in 1971 as well in the book with Yosemite.
In 71. Yes, that's that's a very interesting story. There's another creature in this story. You want me to recite the story real quick for you?
Please, if you could just tell us a bit about it, yeah.
Okay, my mom and her friend were, this is after my mom and dad divorced, back in the younger days. My mom was raising us by herself, and her and her friend says, well, let's go up to Yosemite and spend a couple nights camping. So we're heading up to Yosemite. I can't recall exactly what area in Yosemite Park we were in. There's also so many different variety areas up there. But in the tent, on the way up, I felt nauseous, or just not really nauseous, but a head sick kind of thing. Almost a headache, but not quite a headache. It wasn't really unpleasant, but that was the first thing that I was like, what's wrong with me? And we get the campsites put up and everything, and there's like 3 different tents, the adults and some of the kids and different ones. And I told my mom, I got to go to bed. I don't feel real good. So she said, go ahead. So I went in there and got in my sleeping bag. And then all of a sudden I wake. It's all of a sudden again. Suddenly I wake up and I'm hearing this incredible beautiful singing, but it's not like the English language or nothing. It was a beautiful feminine voice singing, and who's singing? So I get out of my tent, and it's dark. Everybody else is already in bed. So I'm starting to follow this sound. So I walk out into the forest, and it's just incredible. I can't explain how incredible this voice and this. There was no instruments. It was just a voice singing, and like I said, it wasn't English. It wasn't any language I've ever heard. So I'm walking out of the forest, and it's dark, but yet there is a moon up. I do recall a light. I'm going to say it's the moon, but there was a light, but not a bright light. I'm out there, and I realize that, well, the singing kind of stopped. It was real faint, like in the distance, like, what, do I need to follow it some more? But I reached a point like, no, I shouldn't be doing this. And I stopped, and I go, I need to go back to the tent. Well, I turned around, and I just came from this direction, but I turned around and looked, and I goes, well, this don't look right. All of a sudden, I'm starting to feel a sense of being lost. But while I'm looking back there, I see this, like a tree. It moved. I'm going, trees don't move like that. The wind, there's no wind. And I said, okay. And then all of a sudden, it was a sudden thing again. It was after I saw the tree move, I was like flying on a carpet. I felt like I was flying on a carpet, and I was going backwards. My feet were at the head of the direction I was going. My head was at the end, seeing where I've been. And I'm traveling at an incredible speed and on this carpet. And I'm a little scared, but I'm not really scared. That's the strangest part of this. And, of course, flying on a carpet. Okay, it was a magic carpet ride, you might want to say. Okay, I'm going, and I am crossing a river. I'm going up the side of a mountain by a waterfall. Then I go into this incredibly large forest. And then it's like I'm being put on the ground. And this is at the moment I realized what was happening. I was over the shoulder of a Sasquatch or a Bigfoot. And I know that's way out there, but man, that is what I felt happened. And when I was put down, I looked up at this incredible creature and just in amazement. And he had this look on his face like, don't worry, it's all okay. And he moved away, and then I realized he set me down on this, like a stump of wood here. And I'm sitting there, and then I feel like I'm all alone. And then the forest kind of moved in front of me, like it was almost a picture screen being turned on.
Yeah.
And this woman came out and greeted me and had a nice conversation with me in a normal sense, speak English. And it was, here she is again, an angelic woman, not the same woman from the first story. She just had real calming things to say, and it was just kind of letting me in on that you're going to be okay. You are a very important person, and there's many more like you on Earth that are going to come out someday and have a great message for the people and help save the planet. And that's what I remember from this beautiful woman. And then she said everything's okay, and then it was like, okay, I'm back in the forest, and I hear her faint singing in the background behind me, and I'm walking right back into my tent area, and my mom comes out, and because I'm sitting out there crying, I'm sitting there, I just started crying on the table, sitting on the table, I was crying. She comes up, what's wrong? Are you still sick? And I go, no, Mom, everything's fine. Everything's fine. I didn't tell her anything. It was just, I had such a peace, calm thing over me that it's all okay. And I don't need to tell anybody my stories. It came many, many years later before it was like I was activated to tell these stories.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's another story right there. And one part I left out, my younger brother was crying before I went out in the woods. He was sitting at the same place I was crying at the end, and he kept saying, they won't let me go. And I was asking him, what are you saying? He said, they won't let me go. And that's when I just went ahead and walked anyway. So my younger brother might have been connected to this somehow too, but I don't have my brother around no more. So.
Ah, right, okay. Right, I'm guessing your has your brother passed away, has he?
Yes, he passed away.
Right, okay, sorry to hear that. Because I was going to ask you just there, actually, took the words out of my mouth, what does your brother recollect? Okay. And again, you just the next day went on with your normal business, everything back to normal. Not you didn't discuss it with anyone?
No, didn't discuss it with no one.
Right.
I reached a point in my life that it's so commonplace for these experiences. I would mention things kind of here and there, and some reason I would just shut myself back down and not go there. It was like something in me.
Yeah. But that's how. I mean, you've brushed shoulders with other people that have had abductions, and you would find some similarities, not in all of them, but in some that felt the same way as you. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah. I've heard many stories over time.
And I take it it's a very emotional recollection to recall this, not just because your brother was there, but also just the recollection of that energy that you were in the presence of.
Yeah, you said it just right. Yeah, it was the more emotional of what I was experiencing, and I was able to see this incredible, beautiful woman again. But yeah, there was an emotion there about my brother.
Okay. So, yeah, I'm sorry about your brother. I am. But with this woman now, this again, this woman you're describing here, this is a different woman to the woman that initiated the idea with you to do this book. I mean, you feel there were two different energies?
Oh yes, there was Lavana, there was Shara, there was Deja. There was a variety of different women.
Right. Any idea where they were from?
Well, this was one of the vivid dreams that I had with Deja. That was from the Orion Belt area. It was a planet that was so far away from one of the suns in the Orion Belt area.
Okay.
But that's, like I said, it was an interesting day. I started out in reality, and why I would have such an incredible dream like this, I had to write it down. And I sensed that if it didn't really happen, it was put in my mind, and it happened there. I can't explain that any better.
No, but that's a great way of at least expressing the truth in a different way, that if it didn't physically happen, something happened that was more than a dream, and it was implanted there, right? And
yes,
we don't understand it any more than that right now. And I'm, you're describing here a nature of reality that's beyond our comprehension right now. Even the nature of the UFO existence is still beyond our. I mean, MUFON don't have exclusivity to say it's this, it's that. No one does, do they? It is a subject. When we use the word UFO, it doesn't really describe the nature of the reality as we're understanding it a bit more nowadays, would you say?
You're pretty much right on. To most people, a UFO is just something that's unidentified. And that's what MUFON's all about, is to show them we can identify it. Here it is. And, there's thousands of reports a year that come in on UFOs, and that's exactly what they are. I'm sorry. They end up being IFOs, identified flying objects, and a very small percentage of those are unidentified.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that are key to what's going on. They can't be explained.
Yeah. Well, let's look at it from this perspective as well. I'm taking it MUFON published your book, yeah?
Well, no, they carry my Amazon.com published my book.
Right. Okay.
MUFON just has a site to sell it, and I donate a lot of. The first two times I gave them a lot of my books as a donation. I ain't really seeking money for my book, but if it comes in, that's fine.
So with your story then, okay, so the actual stories, it's not a story, is it? The actual recounts from people who have had first contact experience or close encounter experience. Nowadays, it's very much going towards a sort of consciousness experience as well. It's not just nuts and bolts. There's consciousness and there's teachings that go into these abductions. Is that close to what you've had?
Yeah, I think you're right on that. It's an awakening that's happening. People need to know that there's more going on, and there's certain individuals, I'm most likely one of them, that are being told, okay, it's time. This might have been my whole purpose, is to write this book. This is what they led me up to say, hey, look, people, read this, and you judge it as you want to. And there's still people out there that will say, no, there's no such thing. I haven't seen nothing. But nobody can go and look up into space and go, we're the only ones. It just can't be. To me, I know it's not.
Absolutely.
I'm 100% guaranteed that there's more going on here.
What I found interesting about your case as well was the connection with Bigfoot, and how many other researchers recently have come forward to say, well, there seems to be a connection between high strangeness and the Bigfoot phenomena. So, yeah.
I know the reason. This is my view of the reason. Why we can't get a grasp on Bigfoot anywhere for sure and make it legitimate is because they're only used to frighten men when a craft comes down. An alien craft comes down, lands for repair or for research work, whatever they're doing at the time, or for my instant, they wanted to talk to me. They send out the Sasquatch Bigfoot to keep other humans at bay around the area where they won't actually see more than they need to see. And then they get taken right back up and they leave with them. That's why you cannot find any remains of them or come across them in any other way. Like here and there, people will say, oh, I saw Bigfoot. Well, that's all you're going to get.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've got a couple of dates here in 1978. Now, I was born in 1978, so I'm kind of drawn to it. I was like, oh, what's going on in 78? Just tell us about your experience at age 18 in 78, and then the Army as well.
Well, if I remember right, my memory, I got something else. My memory has been affected by all this. I had to write my book as fast for some reason. It was like two things working on me, like not to write it and another side to write it. And I truly believe there's two sides of possible entities that I'm involved with. And I very rarely get to see the other side, and it's a darker side of one. And it's messed with my memory a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, but that story, it's interesting that you went on to that story. That story is one of the most incredible ones of all. It comes outside of Yosemite again, not in the state park. I mean, in the park, but it's outside of the park. But if you want me to tell you that story, it's a longer story.
Well, just cut. Obviously, if we cut it down just to condense it a little bit. Yeah.
Well, that was a story. Another thing, I was driven to take off and go and do something that I would not normally do. I never go hunting for deer by myself. Never have, but this time. And it was a desire. I had to go. So I took off early in the morning, and I went up to a place called Tuolumne Meadows, up around Pinecrest, the same lake I had as a child experience. And somehow I did not turn into my exit to go to Eagle Meadows. And I'm almost there, and that's the last part of my memory there. And the next memory is I'm up on the pass up above, almost entering into Nevada. And I realized, what am I doing here? And I'm driving. I am driving. What am I doing here? And I'm up to where there's actually quite kind of a secret base up there in the mountains. It's a Marine base. That was really odd. You never hear about secret bases with Marines. But this was a Marine base up there, and I'm almost at that place. I started to recognize I'm up there. What did I do? And at the same time, I'm going, how did I drive through the little town of Dunsmuir?
Right.
Little tiny town. I'm sorry, Dardanelle. Little town of Dardanelle. And that's when it dawned on me, oh my God, something incredible has happened to me. And I attempt to turn around. I start realizing where I'm at. I'm going, okay, how did I go through? There's only one road through this town, and it's the highway. And I turn myself around, and I come down, and there's a light coming up at me. A light comes up at me, and I'm going, okay, it must be another car coming up the highway. And no other lights but mine and theirs. My lights go out. My vehicle stalls. The other vehicle lights go out as we're passing each other. He's going up, I'm going down, and it slowed way down to enough where I could look over there. And that was the time I was telling you earlier that one time I was scared. I was just incredibly scared. And continued on. Lights came. My vehicle came back on. Right after an incredible flash of a blue light. I never did quite understand. I'm assuming I experienced the bad ones in the car and the good ones with a blue flash of a light. And I continued down. I went right through Dardanelle, and it was just a dead town. There's just so many buildings on the main road, the highway there, and no one in sight. I don't know what time it is. I am just kind of in a shock. I go through the town. I find my turnoff. I go back there. I park, fall asleep in the back of my van, and I go home the next day. I didn't do any hunting. Went home. My wife was hysterical. She says, "You're out with another woman." Blah blah blah. I says, "There's no way." I said, "Why have you been gone longer than you said?" And I go, "What are you talking about?" She said, "I was gone for 2 days."
Wow.
So. Yes, and then that's when I really started looking at the calendar and a few other things. I go, wow, the date was different. So I truly, absolutely believe that I was abducted, but I have no recollection of what took place during the abduction.
And you still have no idea what the abductions were for?
No, I believe that they're a programming of some kind. Like if I haven't done it already with making this book and making it public, being here with you today, there's something else that I'm going to be involved with. It might be because I'm involved with MUFON. So I'm not told what's to come, but boy, right when I'm on it, I go, oh, this is it. I'm on it. This is part of it. I know at the last minute. It's like need to know kind of a thing.
Yes.
I don't need to know now, but boy, when I'm right upon something, now I get it opened. It opens up in my mind.
Okay. Was there any abductions that you had where you were fully conscious in remembering the most important things that were said to you, in the sense that I can't remember if you told me or not, but has there been any spiritual teachings that has come through your abductions, in the sense of recollection of memories and interactions?
Oh yes, the main thing is that we need a change. We need to change so much. It's so incredible that we're contaminating our world. We're going to probably destroy it some more. There's going to be a failure in our government structures and a variety of things like that. It's just that we were given a gift. This planet was a gift to the human beings, and we were brought here, is what I truly believe I've been taught, is that we were colonists. This planet was colonized, and there's ancient stories in the Bible, Adam and Eve. There's a lot of truth to that, but it was so vague to the people of how to write the truth. They wrote it as best they could, but this planet was colonized, and we destroyed it, and we're continuing to destroy it, and it needs to stop. That is the main message.
So when you're getting those messages through, how have you recalled that information? Any of that information that you just talked about, how have you recalled that? It's recorded in my mind, in the sense of, I'd say telepathic. At the times of my experiences, these little bits and pieces were put in my mind, and I believe there's other things in there that have not come out yet. Right.
And
So when you say they're in your mind, you okay? So there's no physical recollection of, as I said, being told these things as an event on a craft. These are things that you almost have a download effect where they just come to you, and then your truth is that they've come to you because they're seeded memories from past abductions.
I would say it's like a file that's closed and gets opened as needed in my mind.
That's incredible.
And I thought I'd tell you something else. I don't know how
Please.
your show, what your rating is on the show, but in my book, it explains that I truly had sexual experiences with some of these beautiful angelic women, and I wasn't let known why these were happening. But they were the most incredible experiences in my life. I've never been with a human woman that compared to this. And just an incredible experience. And why that took place, I don't really know. The first thing that comes to my mind is that I'm helping populate something somewhere. That's the only thing I can figure.
So you've heard of the hybridization program, I'm guessing. That's what you've just described there. Was I had a guest on recently, Bridget Jones, and she talked about the hybrid children and how there's how we're there's some other race that's out there that's being created. For what purpose and how it's happening and how long it's been going on for is unknown, but there is recollections that people have. When you say about having sex with these women, I mean, is that a memory again that was downloaded to you that you remember that may have took place, or is this a full recollection of what happened, of events that happened again, or is it just cloudy? Or
no, they stuck in my mind so deeply because it was such an incredible experience. That they just stuck in there real deep. That's about all I can really say.
Okay.
But the one other little thing real quick is I was told that I'm an old soul. You've probably heard that phrase before. Some people are old souls. That I'm an ancient soul. My soul has been brought back many times on this planet. And that's the biggest value in me. That was one of the biggest reasons why it was me that they have been doing this. But I'm not the only ancient soul. There's many ancient souls that have been brought back to this planet. I know it's getting in a deep, deep area, but that's the best way I can describe that.
And again, how did that come to you?
It's through a message from these women and a few other experiences that I had. I had an incredible one when I was in the Army and I was stationed in Korea on the DMZ. I was over there for 1 year. That was it went from a reality to an incredible dream. It was another one of those. And I believe the dream really happened somehow, if not just put in my brain to remember it. And I get mixed up on that one. For some reason, I'm not allowed to know too much of what happened. But I was on the DMZ and doing special ops, and so maybe there's more to that one. I'm not quite understanding. I wrote it down as best I could.
Again, when you was in the Army, you talked about these events with no one. This was yours, true. This was to you only. You weren't going to discuss it with anyone.
Yeah, it wasn't meant to be discussed.
No.
I've been told recently, I think it was 2012, is when I had the first experience. I'm going, okay, now it's time to start talking.
Yeah, that's when you felt that it was the right time. Well, I look at 2012 and I think, then, it was a shift into an awakening of some sort. But, the real shift on planet Earth, I believe, took place when Donald Trump was voted in. When we talk about the Earth going through major changes, or the times we live in now going through major changes. So maybe there's a reason why, you're even doing this interview right now, because I think this is your second interview, isn't it? Second or third?
Well, I did a documentary with a Denmark film crew just recently, and then this one with you, and I did an interview with NBC. They were from LA, and
Right.
that's still I might be part of a show, a regular
Okay.
show for.
Oh, well, that's great. Okay, well, that's okay. Okay, so that's all in the pipeline. Um, I really want to get into the spiritual truths that you're bringing through. What are some of the most aha to you that you're thinking? Well, I never normally think that way. Where's that come from? That's very deep for me, kind of thing.
That's a good question. The most wow, I'm stumped on that question. It's so broad, it's so in depth
Yeah.
that we're not the only one. It's what really gets me the most is the vision that I got with Deja about wisdom and how we're destroying ourselves and how other planets have destroyed themselves and we're following that same route and that we're being we've been looked over from early time. We've been developed. We have been watched over. There's a story about the fallen angels. Well, I believe there's more to the fallen angels. They're not an evil thing. It's they're watchers. They're watching over us. They've been among us from the very beginning, and they try to guide us. But we are a selfish race of people, a warlike people, and we need to realize things ourselves. They don't want to stop and say, "Hey, wait, look, that's what you got to do." So no, we need to learn these lessons ourselves. But we've been like that all through our history. We get right to the brink of disaster, and we get the last moment, and then we fix it. Oh, we got to fix it right now.
That's right.
You know, that happens. Or we'll go over the edge and go, "Oh, look what we did to ourselves. We learned from it."
Yeah.
And they want us to learn ourselves on our mistakes.
So now, isn't that interesting that they're not coming here just to observe us? They're not coming here because it's a cheap holiday for them to come to. You know, they're actually coming here because they're part of us. It's almost like our progression is their progression, spiritually as well. As I said before, I think that the nature of the reality of the UFO phenomena is not what we think it is.
I think you got it. You're right. Just the Bible and the church's view of God and angels is the best they could do in the past to get people to walk a fine line to be good. But it's much higher, much more broader than what the church has explained. There is probably a great creator, but I do believe what they experienced was not that high up. They experienced things. You know, three wise men followed a light to an incredible being, and that being later said, "My Father is from up above." So, what you think of that story in a scientific mind?
That's right. That's so true. Yeah. That's that story, especially this time of year because we're filming this in December right now. It's quite fitting actually. But yeah, it's true what you say. Now, have you come across people like Dolores Cannon and studied her work at all? Because she was very. I mean, she's not with us anymore, but she did a lot of books on abduction, and it was very interesting what her research had to say as well. Or is there any other researchers that you sort of are following?
I don't recall her. I've not studied her. I don't really study many other people because what I have been given is the truth. And a lot of their studies were based on just studying individuals and things that happened. So I can't necessarily go with anybody, really. I really haven't studied many.
Okay. Yeah, well, what Dolores did, I mean, that was a little bit different, where she used to use hypnosis to take people under, and she would talk to their higher selves or their, that God part of them and get the answers for the person who was under the, hypnosis session to sort of help them heal. And I'm not saying hypnosis is the answer to recalling memories, because, it's got its own issues in some respects. But it's the closest to getting the truth from yourself you'll probably get in another. So these are ongoing abductions then, is that right?
Well, you keep using the word abduction. There was only one. It was a vivid dream with the Shara and the pools of wisdom, and that might have been a true abduction and taken away. The Army one might have been a true abduction and taken away. Most of them were right here on the planet.
Okay.
But I can't say that I've seen a flying saucer or anything like that. Other than with Shara, we flew together. Just together. It was more, we were together and we went places.
So Shara was someone that you met in 1992, yeah?
I'm sorry, Deja. I'm sorry.
Deja.
Yeah. And it's interesting her name was Deja, because I immediately thought of deja vu. And it worked the whole time. It was like I was being shown problems with New York, other planets, how they failed, and how some prospered. And so it just goes on and on.
Did they ever show you a potential future outcome? Did you ever get to see a future outcome of what the world would look like?
Well, that's interesting. I've had another vivid dream recently, and I would say absolutely was a dream. But when I say dreams, I am saying that it's beyond a normal dream. It was just, I cannot explain it enough when I say that. And that's why it goes into it was a reality. It really happened. But I'm writing a new book about it, and it's Memories of 2020.
Oh, well, that'll be interesting. Well, we'll definitely be getting you back on for that.
Yeah.
Well, actually, just going back to the title of this book as well. Why that title?
Well, because it's the tears part, of course, is crying tears, not like you're climbing a tear, and the I call them the alien tears, because they're crying for us. They're crying for us. They're really wanting us to wake up. Just come on. They know it's in us. We've proven it in time that we've got this great good side, humanity side, that we want to take care of the planet. But there's another side that's just destroying it. And it's just, I see them, they're crying for us.
I can imagine so. I mean, when you look at the planet from space and you see what the ISS looks at, and just how beautiful and fragile that it all is as well. We're so fragile.
Yes, we are. I mean, if we didn't have the moon, look how the odds we have a moon. We wouldn't exist if we didn't have a moon on this planet. And yeah, we are very fragile. It's a great nova can happen out in space and get this burst of radiation that could just blow our atmosphere right off our planet, and we're extinct. That's simple.
Yeah.
But that's something the watchers are watching for, I believe, also, is that they will do whatever they got to do to prevent things like that from happening, because we've lived a long time now.
And it's interesting. You call them watchers. That's an interesting word. Do you believe that they're benevolent and that they have our best interest at heart?
Absolutely. And in the book, I classified them more as sky teachers. But I think the proper word is the watchers. They watch over us, and yes, they're benevolent. They're watching over us, and they might even be part of us. We are a second generation, third generation of these beings that's been mixed with a different mix.
So you can't call on these beings at any time to communicate to them, can you?
No, I cannot.
No.
I walk my day and I pray to God on a regular basis, but I don't pray to God like a person from a church would be praying to God. I see it beyond the church's view. They hear me, They don't always answer me. But I could get an answer every once in a while in such an incredible way. I mean, all of a sudden I'm walking around a corner and there's an eagle sitting on a post. And I said, I've never been this close to an eagle. But what was the odds of me walking around a corner and there's this beautiful eagle in Arizona right here? And I immediately look at it like, what? I just asked a question. Around the corner, it says, "What's next for me? What's going next to me? Can I know what's next for me?" And all of a sudden, I see a beautiful creature. And in some ways, it's to me, I got an answer. Just be calm and enjoy yourself now.
What would you say is something that we've left out that's really important to you? That really, you need to get that message out.
Is that people need to really open their eyes to what's going on around them in the world. And it's up to us, not our governments, not our religious structures. It's up to the people. The majority of the people need to get together, and we need to fix it. Stop relying on the government and the religious structures to fix everything. We need to do it. That's the main message. And we need to become this we're incredibly intelligent beings, but we show an incredibly bad side at the same time. But as incredible beings, that we can do it. When we work together, we become so strong. And we need to use that strength to make this the greatest planet in the solar system, which, as of right now, we're the only inhabited one that we know of. But that might not be true. Our solar system might have other life out there that we just haven't been let in on. But in the universe, there's definitely other beings. But we as a people need to work together and take control ourselves and make things change.
That's so empowering what you've just said there, David. It really is. If that was the most important message from this work, well, that's a really important message, and especially in the times that we live in right now, that we don't rely on government. We don't need government. We don't need anything really, except for we've got laws and there's taxes we have to pay, but at the end of the day, are any of these governmental people in charge of our lives? Not really. Well, nor is religion. It's us that are gonna, be the change we want to see. It's us that are gonna live a life to the fullest of our passion. And we have complete free will right now to do that, don't we?
Yes, and the way it's structured now, the filthy rich. I mean, there's a rich beyond the rich that we know. And they're the puppet masters, and we're a bunch of puppets. And they got it structured they want you to do this. And all it's about money gain in a lot of those filthy rich people. And they're just a hidden group that you'll never quite find. And that's one of my messages that was given to me, too. And, just our medical industry now is, oh, my God. Our environment's given us illnesses, and the pharmaceutical industry is just making billions of dollars on take this pill. That's not healing you. It's causing you to have other secondary effects. So later on, they're giving you another pill for that effect. They got a monopoly on our health, and we got to get away from that. We got to go back to the original health remedies and this structure of the filthy rich becoming more filthy rich. I hate to say that, but that's the absolute truth.
No, I completely agree with you. And we can manifest the life that we want as well. and yes. That's also important in your work as well. You seem very comfortable now talking about the just even some of the events that we've talked about or touched on today. Do you think that really that you were only ready, I think this is true, but you were only ready to come out with this story at this latter part of your life because you was at the right space to be able to accept this truth?
Yes, it's the experience that I had in 2012 was just like a turn-on switch. I got turned on. Like, okay, you're on. Now you do what you need to do for the world. That's what I can do, and I am trying to help change the world. If we could just get together, like I said before, and we can change it. We just need to do it.
Well,
That's the hard part.
absolutely. But do you think change, it starts with yourself first? You can't change the world until you change yourself, and that's the kind of message I'm getting from your work. Do you know that? This message that you're bringing forth is really about an internal change.
No, I've always been in the area of seeing that the world needs to change. I've always felt that, and I've observed and watched different things on what needs to be changed. But these messages that I've been getting were a little deeper areas that I've never seen.
Right.
So here I am.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here. I'm so glad you showed up and that you're doing what you're doing. So thank you for that. I mean that. Okay, well, David, what we're going to do is we're going to link to MUFON. So basically, if people want to get in contact with you, they can do so through MUFON. And also, at the bottom of this video as well, we're going to put in the links in the description, the links to your book, the links to MUFON, and any other links that we may feel help in this interview to go on there. Well, look, it's been a fascinating interview. I know there's quite a bit we didn't cover here, but just time goes so quick. I'd just like to say, David, thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell my story.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on our past and upcoming guests on the show via themoreshow.com, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.